All right. If my little liveness indicator here is to be believed, folks, we are live. This is Retro Reload. I am your host, at least for this episode, DashV. Maybe after this episode, I will never host again, but we'll just have to see what happens. With with me today, I also have
Fighter Pilot
and T. Pugmire.
Yes. So, a little bit of what we'll be getting into after the news today. Last episode, last Tuesday, we were talking about games that we found on the cheap and how people at VG Collect tend to be pretty cool with games sometimes, and in terms of trade and sometimes just here you go, man, have it. One of our fellow VG collectors, Ian, who's usually on the Thursday night shows, he saw my comment where Fighter Pilot, you'd mentioned that you found a copy of Superman 64, right?
Yeah, I was going to send it to Pugmire as a novelty prize for the competition.
Yeah, and I made the smart aleck comment of, well, dude, if you send me a copy of Superman 64, I'll play it on the show, and I'll even pretend that I like it, and you guys can heckle me or whatever. And I didn't expect somebody would actually do it, but Ian actually went out onto eBay like that week and bid on the Superman 64 cartridge, won it, and shipped it directly to my house.
Oh, I thought you had it. I thought you actually went and bought it.
No, he went and bought it and shipped it directly to me. It's sitting in the N64 right now, and you can see that the power light is on. So, after the news, true to my word, I will play Superman 64 for the first time. Anybody that's already seen the teaser trailer for this episode is probably going, oh, we saw you already play it. No, seriously, that was just me watching the demo and pretending to play. So this live is going to be the first time of me ever playing this game, which many consider to be the worst N64 game of all time. And you guys can basically dish it out, and I just have to, take it in stride. So before we get to that, though, a couple of news items. Tyler, I believe that you have one that you wanted to share.
Actually, I had a couple. There was one that I just barely thought of that I heard about. So the first thing, this happened actually a couple weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when. Nintendo came out and said that they are going to, I think it's official, they are going to reveal the new console, codenamed the NX, at this year's E3. And it's speculated that it's going to launch this holiday season. So that's kind of a quick turnaround. But yeah, so come E3, we'll actually get our first look at whatever it ends up being. I think that's in June.
Wow.
So
it'll be interesting to see if it's backward compatible, how far backward compatible, all that kind of thing. I mean, they kind of talk about like a mobile and a console version of it, and them both somehow being the same thing, but it's not clear right now if it means that they're A part, B part, or if it's like literally console version of this, portable version of this. But definitely,
Well, it's interesting because Zelda comes out this year. Now they're coming out with a new console too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last I heard about that is the Zelda U is still confirmed for the Wii U, and it'll come out 2016. So I don't know if that's changed, but that was the last official word.
Yeah, they've been pretty steady that they still intend for Zelda to come out for the Wii U. Now, they might do like a Twilight Princess thing where it releases on Wii U and then maybe next year there's like an enhanced version or something for, the NX. That's certainly possible. I wouldn't put that past them. But I think at this point, with the Wii U being what it is, I think that there would be a major backlash because there was a lot of people who they were going to skip this whole generation completely. Mm-hmm. And then when Zelda got announced, there's a lot of people that jumped on board for Zelda that would be incredibly pissed off if that ended up being on the next console.
Yeah. So
another interesting thing, and some people are kind of banting this about already, is if they do release a portable, a next-gen portable, what's this mean for 3DS, especially everybody who's recently bought into the, quote, new 3DS for the likes of, Xenoblade?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I think the late adopters kind of get hosed if that's what ends up happening. I mean, I was that way with the DSi. I bought the DSi, and then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, now there's going to be this new 3DS." Okay, so I bought a 3DS, and as soon as I bought a 3DS, then they said, "Oh, now there's the new 3DS." And I'm like, okay, you know. So I feel like it's happened in the past, so I don't see it being a huge deal.
I still gotta get a 3DS, and I want that Pokemon Red and Blue one. I don't know if you guys saw about the faceplate.
I did not. There's so many different iterations now of the 3DS. I've honestly had trouble keeping up.
I mean, I wanted it before, but when I saw that, the red and blue faceplate, I was like, I really want that now. They're all sold out.
Yeah, they're probably sold out within 5 minutes, right?
I would assume so, and unless I want to pay $500 on eBay, I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, $500, that's a bargain.
Well, you know how, I'm just
kidding. I was like, $500 for, I'll get 3 of them.
I think they were like $200 or $300 on GameStop.
Yeah.
When I was looking.
So Jeremy, I think you had a news topic, right? And then we'll pop back to Tyler, and then I'll throw down a news topic, and then we'll move on.
Yes, Steam announced they're going to release 100 popular Atari games. So if you don't want to buy 2600 or 7800, Steam's going to release them for you.
Now, and there's more to it than that, right? Because, I mean, certainly, I mean, I can get 100 Atari games on my cell phone, right? But when I read this article, is this the same one where they talked about these games will actually include online multiplayer?
I did not read that part, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Steam release they were talking about it's going to have online multiplayer.
Yeah, I didn't read that either. That's news to me.
So that's going to be pretty interesting, being able to play games like Warlords, Pong, and things like that, you know, against other actual people, you know, online versus, you know, couch. Tyler, you had one more news item, I believe.
Yeah, and again, this happened a while back, and I just barely became aware of it just last week. Double Fine came out, and this is as of December 5th, so it's been almost a month. They are working on Full Throttle Remastered, which is one of my favorite PC games from back in the day. It's supposed to launch sometime this year. No, sorry, 2017. It's going to be on the PC and as well as the PlayStation 4, it seems. So if you haven't ever played Full Throttle, this is your best chance, it sounds like. Just getting it to run on a new computer, or a modern computer, it's kind of tough. I mean, it can be done, but through emulators and things like that. But it's a really fun game, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So my news was the makers of Burnout, the Criterion gang that went on to make the Need for Speed, their most recent Need for Speed games for EA. Now that they've finished up their work there, they've already started the rumor mill abuzz with news that they're working on a new game, and it's a spiritual successor to a game that starts with burn and ends with earnout. So super excited to see what those guys are cooking up. They're talking about this being a PlayStation 4 release. So really
like
excited.
Burnout Revenge, so I'm kind of excited for that.
Yeah, it was kind of like a good news, bad news type thing. Like, the bad news was they did reveal that they have no plans to work on a Burnout collection. A lot of people were, you know, kind of gossiping and whispering, hey, wouldn't it be really sweet to see a Burnout collection on some of the next-gen consoles, or maybe a Burnout Paradise compilation of all the DLC and everything remastered for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. They came right out and said, look, we're a small team. You know, I think they've broken back out from EA, and they're starting their own company from scratch again. So they've got a really small team, but a really dedicated team, and they want to do something that is very much like their Burnout roots, but at the same time, they don't want to go back and retread. They don't want to go back and just redo stuff that they've already done. And in some cases, I don't think they own the licenses anymore to be able to do it anyway. Which is probably why what we'll see will feel and play probably a lot like some of the Burnouts that we've known and loved, but most likely will not actually carry the Burnout title.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So, folks, that's it for the news. In way of surprises, I am not actually in my loft right now. I know it appears that I'm in my loft, but I'm actually reusing the slate that I used for our infamous Shia LaBeouf episode, and I'm actually in my green screen studio.
Oh snap! Look at that.
I know. Check this out, right? Like I could be anywhere, man. I could be at like the Eiffel Tower. I could do anything I want now. But true to my word, I promised that I would do some Superman 64 action, and it's time for me to be you know, the man of my word. So I have a N64 controller, and just in case, a second N64 controller in case I break this one.
Yeah, those things
so the
break
rules
pretty easily. Ask me how I know.
How do you know, Jeremy?
Mini Rage quit when I was younger.
Would you mind taking a very long time to describe that story in great detail? And if we run out of time for me to do the playthrough, that'd be horrible. But I could live.
Well,
with
I can give you a story. My brother beat me, and I got pissed and threw the controller and jammed the joystick.
What he beat you at?
Tony Hawk, I think. The original
Tony
one.
Hawk, okay. All right. So it wasn't something like, you know, Barbie's Horsey Ride or something.
That was our secret. Why you gotta tell him?
That's right. Pre-show, we said don't tell anybody. I'm trying to do what I can to stall now because I have to play this wonderful game. It's really it's a.
Do you have the screen locked onto your screen?
No.
I'll lock it right onto my screen right now. So this is Superman 64. This is an unsung gem of the N64 lineup. Some widely regarded as the worst game in N64 history. However, I think that the game is simply, you know, misunderstood and underappreciated. And I know this from having never played the game ever. So I'm going to give it a shot. And there's actually some rules, though, right? I kind of set myself up for this last week. Well, Jeremy or Tyler, remind them of the rules I set for myself.
You have to pretend to like it, and you can't say anything bad about it.
Yes.
And that's all I remember.
Pretend to like it, and I cannot say anything bad about it. You two, however, are free to say whatever you'd like about the game, about me, about my ability to play the game or not.
Anything about you, Ed.
And anything, and I just have to be like, hey, what's up? It doesn't mean I have to agree with what you say, but I do have to be polite in response. I have to maintain my professional composure. So, and with that, I think I've stalled probably about as much as you guys are going to let me get away with, huh?
Let's do this.
Maybe.
All right, I'm gonna try. I don't know how well this will work, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get some. Oops, I'm gonna try to see if I can actually get the volume up here. Let's see if I can. It's just more stalling on my part.
Do you know the controllers at all?
No. This is the second N64 game I've ever played. The first one being Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Well, let's see how you hold the controller, because we had actually a debate about that, remember?
Alright, so I'm going to hold it this way.
I never held it like that. That's interesting.
Is that acceptable? Like, how did you held it like this and then reached over?
I can't even see you right now. My internet's lagging. Oh, there we go. Yeah,
did
that's
like
how I
that?
do it. Yeah.
Dude, like, how? What the
I
hell?
held the middle one and then the side.
Yeah,
I
there's
know,
no controller
like,
on the outside.
Your
That's how I
thumb
was a
has
kid.
to be like. Your thumb has to be like freak thumb to reach all the way across there, dude.
I had big hands as a kid, I guess.
Alright. Well, let me see. I'm gonna hit start here. Oh, look now. How can you hate a game that gives you the choice of English,
I say playing French.
and Espanol? You want Francais?
Yeah, let's see if we get through this.
All right, let us play this in Francais. All right, une nouvelle partie, reprendre partie, dernière partie, options. Oh wow, options in French is options. That's pretty cool.
Lazy French can't name their own options. Sorry, French people.
Environment. Let's see what the options are. What do I have here? All right.
Menu, sound.
Volume songs. Volume musiques. Mode normal. What's this? What are my different modes that I have here? Oh, what happened?
I say go to the first one. Let's get started. Okay, English.
Hang on. Francais. Options. Mode. Oh, I set it to mode Superman. I'm gonna set it to mode Facility. All right. Mode facile. That means easy. So let me see here. Nouvelle partie. I think that's a new game. I have no idea what I'm. Si vous désirez utiliser des inserties les maintenant.
Do you wish to?
All right, I'm going back to. I'm going to English. I can't handle it.
We're gonna have a lot of pissed off French people watching this.
Ooh. Tu ne retrouvez jamais something else. Is Doctor Who in this? There is no time to waste. All right, let's see. All right, the control stick. He can stand in midair. Apparently, that's pretty sweet. I can punch in midair. Alright, B, I guess, makes me fly. And that triangle points me to where I need to go, I guess. And then trigger makes me land. Okay. How do I go in the air? Okay, I broke the game already. I don't know how to fly.
Press the Z button behind the controller.
There's no time to waste.
No, I press Z and he...
Press the C buttons.
Oh, I get it. I press Z and then I have to hit B. Oh, or I can hold B down. That's okay. All right. Okay, I got you. So I got to hold Z and B and do the controls are actually, you know, the controls are actually pretty excellent in this. I like how it gives both my hands plenty of things to do, so that you know they don't get bored. And this triangle here. Oh, there's an S. Okay. Okay. There's a. What's going on here?
Chase that car.
Oh, I just picked up a car, dude. That's sweet. Can I throw it? What do I do with it? I just fly around with the car.
Probably put in English so you can figure out what's going on.
Oh. Wait, Lex wins. Oh, I just hit some lady in a carrying a baby in a stroller.
That's pretty nice.
I don't think
You monster.
Yeah, that's pretty poor. Recommence there. Start quitter.
You might want to go to English so we can figure out how to play.
I think we're gonna go to English because yeah, it's not working out too well for us. All right, English.
Even Spanish wouldn't be too bad.
New game. If you want to use rumble packs, insert them now. Nah, I'm good. That's cool. Listen to that. In short time, your fate will be sealed, Superman. There's voiceovers in here. There's like a Doctor Who portal. Like, how can you not like this game? And now, like, I hold Z and I hold B. And now look at me, I'm flying. Superman. Look at that. I not even reading the instructions, and I'm flying, right? All you haters.
It's almost like Superman is drunk the way he's flying in this game. Like he's
drunk.
Like he had a few too many before it started.
Superman can swim through the air. That's how awesome Superman is. Look at that. He can go underwater. And look. You know how much money they saved by using the same animation for flying?
I would say that it's like this just doesn't look the difference between water and air.
These guys, I mean, they saved a lot of money, you know.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, those red boots are pretty stylish, right? So now I'm flying around. I got 48 seconds or something to go. I thought I was supposed to fly through some rings or something, but maybe not because I'm playing on
I thought so
easy,
too.
right?
I never played the game, but I've always heard his rings, and I don't know.
I think it's because I'm playing on easy. I think they don't make me go through the grind there. So anybody that's complaining about the rings, just play on easy, like, and quit your complaining. All right, sweet. So now check this out. Oh, I picked up that car. That's pretty awesome, actually. But now what do I do with the car?
And you gotta hit the other car, I think.
Oh, I can throw it.
So crush the 2 cars or something.
Yeah, I got that car.
Oh, there we go. I just saved that lady. Yeah. Look at that. To see your friends alive, follow the compass.
So did you win or did you lose? Instead of do it again.
I won. I think what it was is for some reason he was trying to run over some lady with like a baby carriage, and I stopped him. I thwarted his evil plan to run over a baby. Evil people don't need explanation. They do what they want. They're rock stars.
Sure.
You know, and I like how this game captures that, right? That whole like, I'll run over a baby in a carriage. Like, I don't care. I'm Lex Luthor. I'm a rock star.
It looks like a lot of smog. Looks like LA.
Lesser games would hide from such a complex character-driven plot, but not this game.
The police car at the end of this.
Put the police car at the end of the road. I like how it goes really fast, so you can't read it.
Oh wow, I died already. There is no time to waste. You know, some people think there is, but Superman and I know better. There is absolutely that much time to waste. None whatsoever. Alright, I'm going to follow this arrow. I'm going to fly under the bridge.
How high can you fly?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good... It's kind of hard to tell because there's not really... You are trapped in my world, Superman. Did you see that?
Oh, it's saying, hey, go back.
Interesting.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I like how they do that, too. It's not just, oh, I hit the end of the world. It's like Lex Luthor somehow has the power to keep you from flying outside Metropolis. That's one powerful bald dude.
Put the police car at the end of the road.
Alright, wow, that was really, holy cow. That was super quick. Wow, and now I'm back at the title screen. You know what I really love about this game, right? There's like zero margin for error. And so, you know, if you want to be a perfectionist, this is the game to train you. Yeah, I mean, this is Nintendo hard, right?
Alright, go to options, put on harder mode.
Oh, go on to harder mode? Alright, let's see. Oh, I think I'm sorry, man, there's no time to waste. Alright, look, LexCorp. That's kind of cool. It's got his logo and everything. Alright, let me see if I can swim above this building. I mean, fly above this building.
Would you recommend this game for a first-time gamer?
Well, you know, and maybe this is because I'm playing it on easy, right? But, like, honestly, what's funny is you can't tell now if I'm honest or not. Because the way the rules got set up. Like, I could be totally lying right now, but I don't... No, the lady's right there. Nobody ran her over. What are you talking about? She's totally safe.
I'm so confused.
Well, but you know, this game knows better than I do. So maybe that was an evil lady with a bad baby in the cart, and maybe that one was supposed to be run over. So.
Did you push start on that time?
All right. I didn't. That was the demo.
Oh, okay.
So let me see. We're gonna go to options.
You go to practice.
And we're gonna go to normal mode. No, there's easy, normal, and Superman. Let's try normal mode.
Go big or go home.
We'll graduate. We'll graduate. I still haven't beaten the first level yet. In short time, your fate will be sealed. I gotta say, I really love the blurry textures in this game. I mean... There's no time to waste. Oh, there we go. Wait, I missed the first ring? Okay, hang on. Well, oh, here we go.
Solved by a maze.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Wow. No, go up, go up. Come on, you can do it, Soups. Come on, you got this, man. You're Superman, man. Don't let You missed one ring. It's okay. It's okay. There's no time to waste. Why is he just falling randomly?
Fantastic game here. I'm jealous you have it.
Alright, let me see here. I might have accidentally let go of the Z button while I was holding the B button. No, every now and then he'll like randomly fall. That's really weird. It must be because Superman is getting tired, is what it is. So.
Okay, this game looks kind of hard. You're struggling.
This game is actually. It's pretty good. Alright, there is no time to waste, Superman. Okay, so oh, I don't even have to hold Z. Okay, so that's my own bad. I don't have to hold Z. I just have to tap it, and then... Okay, this definitely makes it easier. Oh, and I get it. He's got a little bar at the left-hand side that shows how super he is. And I guess you can't let that bar deplete, or it makes him less super. And the more I tap B, I don't hold B down, I tap it, and the more I tap it, the faster he flies.
Jeez, Phil again, dang.
And there's no time to waste.
There's many layers to this. You know, Superman is a complicated fellow. He deserves a complicated game. Alright, let's see. Go through the rings.
Imagine buying this, what, 10, 15 years ago? Like, oh, I love Superman and getting this.
Well, I'm still not at the point where I hate it, right? Like, I have no idea why I'm flying through rings. Why does Superman have to fly on a set path? Like, nothing in the story establishes it. I mean,
Whoa.
if I was Superman and I just needed to fly across the city, I'd just fly across the city and like punch somebody, right? I wouldn't like say, oh, I have to go this specific route. But you know, if I was to do that, however, I would miss out on all the beautiful graphics and scenery that the developers worked so hard to put there. So I am personally thankful that they make me go through this, you know, series of hoops. In fact, I'm so thankful. We're just going to go ahead and set this to Superman mode right now so I can check out what I'm fully missing. Alright, let's see. From normal mode to Superman mode. Alright, new game.
In a short time, your fate will be sealed, Superman.
I do have to say, I honestly expected this to be a lot worse than it actually is.
And there's no time to waste.
I'm a little disappointed, actually, that the game isn't worse. I mean, it's really a pretty fantastic game. It can be hard to pick up, I think, if you got it without any kind of instructions. I'm sure the instructions maybe get into a bit more detail. So I think Superman mode just added a lens flare to all these rings. You see that they're blinking now? I think I can only miss a certain number of rings. Oh, 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 I did it! Oh, yes. Yes, I'm in the zone. Take that, Sonic. Alright. You guys are supposed to be heckling. Where's the heckling? Come on.
Sorry, I had a little emergency. I'll go fix something real quick.
I'm just getting dizzy watching this.
Was the emergency that you had to go onto eBay and buy a copy of Superman 64 because you realized the error of your ways and understand now that it's awesome?
Damn, you know me too well.
I know, I saw right through you. I got 16 seconds left. Come on.
Oh, Superman. No, no.
Oh! Oh!
Oh my god, you did it, I think.
I did do it. I did do it. And now I'm going to do this. Come on, no!
Wow.
This game sucks.
Oh.
No, you know what? I bet you I could totally do this now on the other difficulty. Let me see here. options. Like if I played it on the normal, that was on Superman mode actually.
It's true.
Like I did the best on this game on the difficult mode.
Well, you are super.
I am. I think in fact we're ready to tackle this on Espanol. Opciones. Modo normal. Alright. I'm gonna do partida nueva. Ah, vibratorio. Yes. The control vibratorio.
I have one sitting right here to my room.
Let's keep
Wow.
it PG.
God, you guys are bad.
That's true.
Alright. No, the contra atas amigos. I think I'm on a quest now.
Time to waste.
There is no time to waste, Superman.
I think it'd be better if
Goodness, me and
the
you.
voice acting was in different languages too.
Well, I gotta say, like the sound clips are nice and clear. You know, the graphics are not. If you remember, this is an N64 game. I think the city is actually rendered in pretty decent detail. I mean, it's not like Star Fox 64 level detail, but still, this is clearly not this is clearly not a you know, Super Nintendo game or whatever. There'd be no mistaking this for a 16-bit title. Oops, I missed one.
I'll agree with you on that
So-
one. For a 64 game, the graphics are pretty good.
Yeah, the graphics are pretty good. The sound is decent. It's a little weird that he swims through the air, but you know, Superman is a complicated guy, so I think we can give him, you know, a couple. The other thing too that I notice is every now and then, for no reason, Superman will fly way faster than what he ought to be flying for how many times I've hit the B button. But that might just be me being twitchy at the controls. So I honestly expected from everything. Let's see if I can make it. This is actually very nerve-wracking hearing the counter count down, but I think I can make it. I think I can make it. Oh!
Oh my god. Oh.
That sucks.
That was actually, you know, that was all me. That was because I hesitated. Superman clearly stated that there was no time to waste, and you know what? I wasted time. So that was clearly my own fault. So Superman 64, the worst game of all time. Honestly, I'm gonna set aside the act and everything. I have to say no. I don't.
There's far
don't
worse
see it.
games.
Well, for the 64,
No, even then, like I don't see, you know, I don't see the worst game. I mean, you could clearly already in just like 5-10 minutes or whatever on the show, or maybe it's been 15 or whatever. I was able to complete the course once on maximum difficulty, and I was the rings, and I was able to almost complete them on medium. I'm pretty sure if I did it again, you know, with enough practice, I would get to it. I think the first stage is probably setting you up to be able to understand the flying mechanic, because it's probably critical to all the other stuff that you need to do in the game. But, you know, will I spend hours upon hours playing this game? No.
is this the
But,
last time you play it?
Maybe not. You know, if I get really bored and I want to, maybe I'll record some playthroughs or something. I'm never going to record a playthrough for this game.
Probably not.
But, what's that?
Probably not.
I mean, yeah. So another really good thing is that this game actually got me to finally break out my N64 again. You guys know I'd mentioned the only games that I'd played on it were, you know, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which I was terrible at. I was horrible at that game. That game probably gonna get destroyed, but I would say that game's worse than this one.
Really?
Like I couldn't seem to do anything in that game. Maybe I just need to play it a bit more. I do have GoldenEye, but I also have Star Fox 64, so I definitely plan to give this
I don't have that
a
game.
try. So I did play this for about 5 minutes while I was testing the setup because I wanted to make sure that I want to make sure I had a lag-free on my end and everything. And I didn't want to try with Superman because I wanted to go at it fresh. So I did Star Fox 64, and I will be playing the hell out of this game. This is an excellent game. Like, even just the 5 minutes I was able to play, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to leave the N64 out just so I can finish this game, and then I may never play N64 ever again. But so I'm going to fire this thing down unless... What's blasphemous?
Just insult my favorite system.
So, let me see here. I can't... Wow, Superman will not be shut down. He's like, no way, man. You cannot turn me off. So, that was Superman for the N64. The rings, not as difficult as people make them out to be. Some of the later episodes, or later parts of this thing, yeah. But, again, full disclosure, I don't have the instruction manual. And this was back in the day when games still came with instruction manuals, and the instruction manuals were just as much a part of the game as the game itself. So I can't gauge whether or not, you know, in this case, the Superman 64 manual does or doesn't add context to what's going on in the game. I can say the game itself, without a manual, can be kind of challenging because it's trying to figure out this controller mess. I don't think it's Superman 64's fault. I mean, before I even started playing the game, right, Jeremy, you and I are having a discussion on what's the correct way to even hold the darn thing.
Well, I don't say correct way. There's different styles.
Well, it depends on the game itself,
Yeah.
I believe.
But my brother used to get pissed the way I held the controller. He's like, you're not supposed to hold it like that. I'm like, why do you care?
Well, yeah, I mean, why does he care how you hold the controller while you play the game, right? I agree with that, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, like you
But I
hold it
do
from
have
the
to
inside,
say-
I hold it from the outside, you know?
Yeah, so what is weird, though, is, and I noticed this in Superman, and I noticed this also in Star Fox, a lot of games just don't support this at all, the D-pad. And that, I think, is kind of a bummer. I mean, why have it there?
Yeah, a lot of times I do miss not having the D-pad.
Yeah, so, and the other thing, too, I guess I'll ask, is this is analog, right? This isn't digital?
Yes, I believe so.
So, okay, so maybe I bet you I could be a little better at Superman 64 if I used this as if it was analog, because a lot of what I was doing was like, I was doing the like tap, 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 right, to get it to kind of get him to go through the rings, when maybe I just needed to kind of like ease the joystick into the general area that I needed. And maybe even that has to do with his speed, for all I know. It could be that his speed is by how hard I throttle, you know, maybe there's a certain amount of throttle by how far out to the edges you push the stick. So, definitely worth playing some more. It is one of those games, I can tell in playing it, it is one of those games that forces you to master the control scheme. But you know what other games do that, and we love them? Shadow of the Colossus. You can't beat that game. I mean, that game has downright sloppy controls, right? You're slipping and sliding all over the place. You can't stay grabbed onto things for too long, and yet, you know, people aren't lining up saying that that's a terrible game, even though after about the first monster or so, it quickly starts to become impossible to get any farther in the game unless you master those kind of touchy controls. This Superman seems like another one. It crunches the timeline so tight and forces you to master the controls to such a degree that either you master them, like a Superman, and you go on to the next stage, or you just sit there and hiss and moan like Lex Luthor.
Too bad our friend left because he loves Shadow of the Colossus, and we could have got him on the show. Like, what do you think of the controllers?
Yeah, you know, in full disclosure, right, because I already got myself in trouble on VG Collect. Let me just, hang on, let me jump out of Superman world and back into my my studio here. So there's a thread that's going on in VG Collect that's Genesis versus Super Nintendo. And I don't want to rehash that thread generally, because it's a huge thread now. Well, not huge, but it's a long thread. It's like 7 or 8 pages now.
It's huge for BG Collect
at one
standards.
point, it's pretty big. And there's a lot of different contributors, especially a lot of new folks and everything, to the forums, which is great. Always love to see new faces and hear new opinions and stuff. And I guess when the question was originally asked, you know, Genesis versus Super Nintendo, which is better? I went in and gave a very technical answer, right? And said, okay, you know, based on just looking at pure hardware and technical specs and all this other stuff, years later, this is my call, right? And what was interesting was, you know, I was expecting that not everybody was going to share my call, right, and agree with my call. And I was expecting that some people were going to be rather passionate about theirs, but what I didn't expect was, like, folks took some of my things that I'd pointed out kind of pretty far out of context. Like, my assessment of the consoles from a purely hardware basis led to them obviously saying, oh, well, what about all these games? And they kept throwing out the games. And so I pointed out that the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis both had a pretty stellar lineup of games. They both had a healthy slew of different kinds of exclusives. But if you were to look at most of the multi-platform games where it was literally same game on both systems, usually the Super Nintendo version of the game edged out the Genesis one in graphics and sound. That got interpreted as, you know, so my first comparison of the hardware, which is better, got interpreted as me basically crapping on the entire Genesis lineup because I put forward that I thought the Super Nintendo had better hardware. And when I corrected that, you know, that I pointed out certain multi-platform games and certain games that I thought had been done better on Super Nintendo than Genesis. And even I also pointed out some that I thought on Genesis were better than Super Nintendo. But then when I pointed to the general trend, you know, the response that came back was now like, okay, so you think that, you know, this game is garbage just because the Super Nintendo version had, you know, like slightly better sound or whatever? And it's like, no, it's not like that. So my question is, what do you guys think about this environment? Because I've seen this happen in many other places. This environment where you're trying to compare A to B, and in doing so, something may turn out to be better than another thing. But, you know, does better have to mean that the other thing is garbage? I don't think that's the case, but a lot of folks seem to believe that. Like, you can't say this is great without implying that this is awful and horrible and worthless. Like, that wasn't my intent, and so I'm just trying to understand if I'm the only one that thinks this way, or what are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, I think you can appreciate, you know, more than one thing. I mean, I feel a lot the same way that you do.
Okay. What about you, Jeremy?
Well, it's that fanboyism. It's like if I say, oh, you know, Genesis was better than Super Nintendo, well, then the guy who picked Super Nintendo is going to feel like, oh, well, then he's saying my answer is wrong. I think that's how people take it, instead of saying,
yeah,
well, I appreciate this system more, but I still respect what this system did. People don't take it as that. It's either, well, this system's my favorite, so I'm clear saying your system is shit. That's how people take it.
Now, what I think is interesting, right? There's a couple things that are interesting about trying to do any comparison nowadays, right? If you were to look at the Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo back in the day, that topic, I think, would have been largely subjective. You could still say, right, okay, on paper, the Super Nintendo, it's got more dedicated graphics capabilities, right? So it's got built-in hardware. In the hardware, it can do scaling of sprites built-in. It can do rotation built-in. It can do transparency, real transparency built-in. It's got a wider color palette and brighter colors than the Sega Genesis. And on the Sega Genesis end, you could say the Sega Genesis has, right, all these peripherals that can enhance it. The Sega CD can give it nearly unlimited storage for the time, right? The 32X adds, you know, more colors and graphics and all this other stuff. The Master System Converter, right, adds the ability to play all the previous gen titles, right? So there's certainly, you know, a back and forth that could have been had, but the game library thing, I mean, that was still like every day was proving like that there really was no clear winner. I mean, every time an awesome game comes out on Genesis but not on Super Nintendo, right? Or on Super Nintendo but not on Genesis, right? It just kind of keeps them both locked in. And right now, you know, fast forward 20 years later, we have the luxury of, I mean, I don't recommend this, but because I own physical versions, but you could go onto certain websites and within a couple hours download the entire Sega Genesis or the entire Super Nintendo library and load them up in emulators and be playing them side by side. And while that's kind of cool in one way, you got to realize you're not comparing, you know, apples to apples. So when we played the game on Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis, we were dealing with, in some cases, cut down graphics. We were dealing with flicker. We were dealing with slowdown. All this stuff that you do not see in emulators if you have certain options enabled, right?
Someone tripping over a wire and taking out the system.
Well, not even that, but just like the emulators, right? The emulators are smoothing out the graphics, right? They are, in some cases, I mean, I've even seen emulators for some systems where like they can take the 3D and they can render the 3D through your 3D accelerator card, so all the jaggies are gone and all this other stuff. So to play old school games now in emulation and compare them side by side, you're having a different experience than what we had playing these games on our CRT televisions side by side. And the key thing is, like you said earlier, Jeremy, I point out this not to invalidate anybody's opinion, but to say you could be making a totally different judgment call now than you are back then. Like if you'd asked me Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo, I would have said, dude, there is no victor. Nobody can win. They both have awesome games, right? And you know, Genesis is willing to put games out that Nintendo isn't, and you know, there is no clear winner. Now, later on, playing both the games in a Retron 5, right? Seeing the Retron 5 try to enhance the graphics of each to the ability it can, enhance the sound to the ability it can. The Genesis games clearly reach a limit before the Super Nintendo ones do. The Genesis games under emulation on HD TVs, progressive scan, all that stuff, the Genesis games have not aged as gracefully as the Super Nintendo ones have, at least from my experience. And you know, so if I look at it now, I have to say Super Nintendo was clearly the superior hardware and had superior quality, you know, in the games that were released for it. But I'm still saying that the jury is out on the library. You know, if you really want to have a solid 16-bit library, you cannot have a solid 16-bit library without owning both a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So, in terms of you know, your own personal collections, did you guys have any leaning preference?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was a Nintendo kid the whole time. I mean, I didn't have a Sega until I was an adult. My first gen, I got a Genesis, so I didn't really, and like none of the. And I think we've talked about this before in the past. You know, like the neighborhood in which I grew up. I mean, there was only like I think one kid that had a Sega Genesis. Everybody else had a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo, and we were, and that's what I played. That's what I knew. I never knew anybody who had a Sega Genesis, or even I've never even seen a Master System before. Still to this day, I've never even seen one in person. So I mean, I don't know if it's like a regional thing, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I was a, you know, yeah. So for me, it's Super Nintendo all the way.
Okay, Jeremy, what about you?
Also Super Nintendo, because Super Nintendo really, you know, got me started in gaming and everything. So it's that nostalgia effect. My cousin had a Genesis, which I got later when I was about 14. But to this point, I have both systems still, and I play Super Nintendo more. And I like the games more and stuff like that.
Yeah, I find myself playing more Super Nintendo as well. I do own both consoles, but I never owned them when I was a kid. Our household, we had an Atari 2600, and then we got a Nintendo, an 8-bit NES, and that was it. That was what we had my entire childhood. And my uncle had a Super Nintendo, but one of my friends at school had a Sega Genesis with a power-based converter, and so I saw games like Golden Axe Warrior and marveled and was like, wow, that looks so much better than Zelda. And I saw games like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Super Nintendo has nothing like Sonic. The game is so fast and so beautiful, right? But then you're playing games like Mortal Kombat 2 on the Super Nintendo, and then your friend says, oh, come on over, and I got Mortal Kombat 2 for the Sega Genesis, and you're like, yeah, and then you're like, how come when I select a character I don't hear the voice telling me what character I selected? How come half the punch sounds all sound the same? Like, I mean, there's no contest, right? For games like Mortal Kombat, Super Nintendo was clearly had the better version of the game. But that certainly doesn't mean, that if you just had a Genesis, that there was no point in playing it for the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis one was perfectly fine. But, if I had to choose between the two, I'd take the Super Nintendo one. Now, flip side, if you're talking Mortal Kombat 1, I own Mortal Kombat 1 on both the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis one has the real fatalities and the blood and a cheat menu that is like Christmas Day. I mean, in fact, actually, I think one of the cheats is you can make like Santa Claus and his reindeer like fly around the background of the pit stage. So, but there's just a ton of Easter eggs and extras in that game. So the Genesis one, the Genesis game version of Mortal Kombat 1 has the higher replay value. So versus the Nintendo one, which Nintendo was still super afraid of Congress back then, and changed the blood with sweat, had all the finishing moves redone. There wasn't really many cheats to speak of, probably because they had to spend so much time retooling the game for the console to get through the Nintendo censorship standards. So, but I don't hate on either console. So I just want to encourage folks, whether you're on VG Collect or elsewhere, Atari Age, any of the forums, when these comparisons come out, don't take them too seriously. Like, even though I'm trying to be objective, I'm sure I've got some of my own bias, in there. Right now, currently, I own both consoles, so it's not like I think one is canned dog food and the other is, gold. So I couldn't picture 16-bit without Sega and Nintendo.
Sure.
So, and if you get involved in one of those comparison things, maybe hear somebody else out. I totally get what what folks are saying. Excellent Disney lineup on the Sega Genesis. Tons of really good exclusives. Gunstar Heroes, Rocket Knight Adventures. Lots of really, really good games. Disney's Aladdin, although not an exclusive. The Genesis version, Sega actually worked directly with Disney, so the animation in that is absolutely fantastic. So, gems to be had on both platforms. So, and you miss out on that if you get too fanboyish and just say, no, this is the only console.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's like, don't be a fanboy.
Expand
Expand your taste to everything. You'd be surprised what you like.
Yes. Yes. My friends, why have one 16-bit console when you can have two for twice the price? That's what I'm talking about, right?
I agree.
So.
Well, then you got the,
all right, folks.
the TurboGrafx 16, which is even better than both of them.
Yeah, from a hardware standpoint, absolutely true. Hudson Soft.
I never played
actually,
one before.
Yeah, you might be. I don't know if you're trolling or if you're serious. Are you serious?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the assessment. I think it was superior in the. It was both superior in the stock console, but then it was also superior in their mind toward upgrading. And I think because I think the biggest problem with the Sega Genesis was the fact that they had such a limited color palette. It's really hard to terribly artistic things, and the number of tricks that you could play, right? When you don't have specialized hardware, you know, the number of tricks that you can play is severely limited when you've only got, you know, what was it, like 50 or 60 colors to choose from?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah.
So, I mean, it was a really, really limited color palette versus like the 256 colors that the Super Nintendo could kind of throw out. And then they had different ways that you could mix. You know, you could do different techniques in the system, so that between the transparency and other effects that they were able to do, you could actually fake beyond that 256 color palette. You know, if you really, really were creative in what you did. So, I think it's a shame that we never saw a Super Nintendo CD, because I think the games for Super Nintendo really could have been fantastic. You know, with the storage of a CD system. I think what limited them there, though, was that they picked a processor that was too slow. I think at the end of the day, right, it was just going to be. I don't think that they were really going to be able to do too much with it. In Sega's case, you know, they had a fast enough processor to handle all that data streaming off the CD, but video with only 54 colors or 58 colors or whatever it was, right? We all, to quote Mr. Nikon, looks like you're watching the video through a sock. So, so clearly, right? And the upgrade, the attachment was obviously an after the thought, you know, and after the fact thought versus TurboGrafx, Hudson, right? And then NEC, right? NEC took the design from Hudson. And then started manufacturing a second run of them. But Hudson, when they designed it, they made everything modular. And they said, how can we add on graphic capabilities? How can we add on sound capabilities after the fact? And so when you look at the pinout at the back of a TurboGrafx 16, there's a ton of pins. Because just about every feature that was baked into the console, you could supplement with an extra module.
Yeah.
So, which they later did with the CD-ROM attachment, they later did with extra memory attachments, they did with extra processing attachments. And none of those in the US were really terribly successful, but I think a lot of people don't realize it was ridiculously successful in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
It was ridiculously successful.
Yeah,
So,
in fact, it was so successful that, I mean, even now, I mean, if you compare the prices of a TurboGrafx 16 game to a PC Engine game, the PC, even with the import fee, you know, having it shipped from Japan or wherever, it's still far and away cheaper than trying to buy a US TurboGrafx 16 game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How much cheaper?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and some of them, like Ninja Gaiden, right? Ninja Gaiden only came out in Japan, but a lot of people don't know. I think if you hold down the select button, it'll actually, you guys can Google it, but there's a button that you can hold down at the title screen that unlocks the ability to select the language. So you can actually play the Japanese version of Ninja Gaiden. You still need a mod chip or an adapter.
Yeah.
Not a mod chip, I'm sorry. You still need an adapter of some form if you're going to play it in a US console, or you need a Japanese console. But you can play Ninja Gaiden for the TurboGrafx 16 in English. And it's kind of like an HD remix of the Nintendo one. It's got enhanced graphics and all that other stuff.
Interesting.
So, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I only know about that because when somebody says, hey, TurboGrafx 16 is better, I don't say, oh, you're full of shit, I hate you, you're dumb. I say, tell me more. Yeah. Right? And then I get educated. So the other thing, too, that I thought was really neat about TurboGrafx was the Turbo Express. I mean, that's the one that it's kind of tragic that it didn't do well in the US because, dude, a 16-bit console where they've got a portable version that can play the exact same games as you're playing on your console at home, I'm still kind of baffled as to how they weren't able to just print money with that thing. So, no other system has done that, ever. Right? Here's our console, and then here at the same time, and maybe this is what the NX is going to be. You know, to kind of bring things full circle. I mean, it'd be really interesting if Nintendo tries to do you know, what Hudson Soft proposed way back in the day. Hey, build a really cool system, but build a minimum platform so you can have a desktop version, or you can have a console version, you can have a portable version, and then later on you can always supplement it as long as you built the input-output system the right way. So it only took them 25 years, 30 years, but maybe Nintendo finally listened.
Who knows? We'll know in June.
So
Hopefully.
yeah, we'll know in June. So folks, we'll see you before June. We'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, this has been Retro Reload, and Superman 64 is not as terrible as everybody makes it out to be. Is it a masterpiece? Honestly, no, but it's really not all that bad. So if you find it for $5, I say pick it up. Later.
Night.